I started drinking alcohol when I was in the 5th grade. I went over to a friend's house at his apartment. His dad had a bottle of vodka up in the closet. We got that down, and I took a couple long pulls off of that, and I knew from that point on that that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. It made me feel free. It made me feel good. The depression was gone. I didn't have any fear. And from that point on, every time I went to somebody's house, that's what I did. I stole alcohol from their house. If their dad had a bar, I went and took alcohol from that. Drank more than anybody else I ever knew. Even when people around me would only drink a little bit, I was the one that initiated everything. Got into high school, the same thing. I used to get intoxicated before I go to school. In the morning, I kept beer and liquor in my trunk so I could get up in the morning, go out and get a beer, get in the shower, and drink before I went to high school. When I was 16 in high school, I got arrested for my first minor in consumption. Me and a friend were in the parking lot of the school after hours, had a 12-pack of beer. We were splitting it between the two of us, and a police car pulled up. He took the beer away from us and let my friend drive home. He'd been drinking too, but he said he was sober, and the cop believed him. So they let him drive me home, and we were both drunk. But had to go to court for that, and they told my parents at that point I was just experimenting with alcohol. There was no real problem. And my mom, told them then that there was a problem, but they wouldn't get me into treatment. They wouldn't do anything. They said, "Oh, it's okay, it's fine." So that just gave me the go-ahead to just keep going, because I drank the next day after I got out of court on that one. And so going into college, that was a free-for-all. I've been to Purdue, I've been to Ball State, I've been to IPFW. Drank at every single one of those schools, and that's all I did. I ended up getting married while I was at Purdue. My son was born in 1991 at Purdue. That didn't slow down my drinking either. Eventually dropped out of college and moved back to Fort Wayne with my wife and child. After drinking for many years, my wife was just tired of the situation. She couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it anymore being there, and we decided to separate. Was divorced, and from that point on, I went on to live at wherever I could find a place to live and work wherever I could that would put up with my drinking. I believe it was 1995. I was driving down Russell Boulevard in Fort Wayne and drunk, looked over at the car beside me, and I saw somebody in the car, and I decided that at that point I was going to take this guy's money. So I followed him into a driveway. I jumped out of my car and pulled him out of the car and proceeded to beat him up and took $5 from him. I was arrested on that. That was the first time I really was in serious trouble with the law. Something I still feel I feel bad about. It was a terrible thing for me to do. I did not even know, for me to say I didn't know what I was doing. I did know what I was doing, but just out of my mind and on alcohol. And then I can't even, some of this stuff is just a blur to me from all the alcohol, but I know I went to state hospital 4 different times. I've been into 4 different jails in this state for different things, for mainly public intoxication and drinking and driving, trespassing. Because when I would drink, I would just do crazy things. In 2011, this was just a pattern that just continued from the time I was 23 years old all the way up until 2011, where I'm getting to the point where my life, I'm either going to die, I'm going to get some help, or I'm going to end up in some type of institution for the rest of my life. So I heard about the Malta House here in Huntington, so I called them. I came here. I didn't know anything about Huntington, didn't know anything about this church. When I came here, that's when the seed of Christ started being planted in me. I did accept Christ when I was in junior high school, but it was just like, okay, everybody else is accepting Christ, I'm going to do it too. But once I got into this church, I really could see the love of Christ here. I could see the love of God. I could see that people did not judge you for what you had done or who you were or what you looked like. People, were serious about helping. I was still holding on to things, though. I was not ready to give up certain things in my life. I still thought I knew what was best for me. I was in control. I still was holding in the back of my mind, yeah, I can still drink. And I still wanted to drink. I still can do drugs. So I wasn't ready yet. Was at the Dream Center for a period I was at the Malta House for a period of time. That is when they switched over to the Dream Center. And I didn't finish the program. I decided I wanted to get a job and leave the Dream Center. So I did that. And it wasn't long after I got my first paycheck that I'm drinking again. Because I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to give up the control of my life and give up my will to God. So I did that. I ended up back at the Dream Center, stayed there for another year, and did graduate the program. I did have some problems along the way. I drank one time when I was at the Dream Center, but I did finish the program. I got out of that. After I'd left the Dream Center, I was working for a while, and I decided I wanted to drink again, and I went down to Legends Bar down here, and was sitting down there, and the next thing I see is Pastor Jeff's head poke up above the window out there, and I said, oh boy, now I'm in trouble. So I see Tim McGuinn and Pastor Jeff out there, and they chased me down the alley and trying to get me, to come with them. They eventually did get me to go with them. I remember going out to Parkview Hospital, and Pastor Jeff and Lori were there with me, and they sat there the entire time with me trying to get me to go into treatment or to get some help. But again, I still was not ready. I said I could say all the right things. I could say, yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to drink anymore, but always holding things back. So I didn't have to give everything to God. I still wanted to be in control. But throughout this entire time, there were multiple people. There's people in this church that took me into their home. There's people that gave me jobs. There's people that had breakfast with me when I was at the Dream Center that helped me tremendously. All these people reached out to me, and nobody ever said to me that, you're done, you're a loser, we can't deal with you anymore. Nobody said that to me. It was always me pushing those people away because I didn't feel like I was worthy. I didn't feel like I was worthy to have the love that God was trying to give me. So I would push those people away. So, I got to the point I was so bad that I was in Fort Wayne, going around drinking hand sanitizer, and continued to do that because I couldn't afford alcohol. So I'm walking around, no place to go, homeless, drinking hand sanitizer. I've done that in this town too. And I've had people chase me down from this church trying to get me some help. And I was killing myself. I mean, I'm frying my brain, I'm killing my body, and I didn't care. I mean, to me, that was Satan working in my life. And because that is not me. That's not what God wants for my life. And I've come to realize, that everybody gets to that place in their life at a certain time, and you can't force somebody to get there. All you can do is you can still love that person, but you don't have to be right next to them. And a lot of people, I think, kind of pulled back and said, we're going to love him, but from a distance. And until I got ready to accept Christ, there's nothing anybody could do for me. And praise God that I got to that point. where I finally asked God, I said, here it is. Here's all of it. Here's, here's the drugs, here's the alcohol, here's the prescription pills, here's the antidepressants, all those things that I used to take. God took all that away from me. He took the addiction away, took the depression away. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff anymore. So, and I come to realize that no matter what, that I will never give up on somebody that I see in addiction, because you never know when their breakthrough is going to come. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. And, everybody gets there at a different time and in a different way. This is my story, and I am made to rise.